walks up, asks me, about something that happened down the street the other day, and started talking. And yeah, I believe he's Australian or New Zealander, one of the two. I can't tell the difference by listening to him. But we were talking about how the Redford, Michigan animal control agent is a fucking monster. She's a horrible, horrible person. Her name is Roxanne, and she's a horrible person. She's bad at her job, and she's a horrible person. She's a revenue generator. And so, the typical, man, everything is so fucked up kind of conversation. Things are going to hell in a handbasket. These things are always said. Are diving bells also not real? No, that's a pretty simple technology, I'm sure. Could easily be manufactured and maintained. To a certain degree, at least. Obviously, they can't go super far down. They'd be crushed. But, yes, attached to something, a boat at the top, I can see how that's a thing, yeah. Doesn't require much movement, doesn't require, that makes sense, sure. Nuclear power submarines that can stay underwater for 6 months and dive 300 meters down that are the size of 80 school buses and stay underwater for 6 months, like I said, yeah, those don't exist. Hey, who cares? You like talking about crazy shit. So it's interesting. So he's saying, everything's going to hell, and he says it's just as bad where I'm from. Everything's going bad. And I said, well, it basically all comes down to Israel, and you can see how it like he knows I'm right, but it still makes everything sort of uncomfortable. Because we're all told we're not supposed to talk about specifically this one group of people. And I said, the thing is, if you really want to look at what's going on, who controls things, who run things, AIPAC. AIPAC controls the United States. AIPAC, absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt, controls the United States. And it's strange because, and I said, look, you see me out here all the time. You hear the shit I'm talking about, I'm sure, in pieces. I don't do the conspiracy theory thing. And he's like, yeah, tinfoil hat. And I said, well, I'm sure some of the stuff I talk about could be considered tinfoil hat stuff, but I don't look at those pages. I look at what they want us to look at and base my opinion on that. Like, my last YouTube feed, the one just before this. I started doing well. I started getting viewers. And before the 10-minute mark, they shut the comments off from my perspective. You guys can comment, you guys can see it. You guys can see the comments, but I can't. And that's what's up, Lobo? But I it's not about conspiracy theories and all that. I don't want to give people, I said to him, I don't want to give people the easy out. I look up the stuff that we're supposed to look up. The information from the sources they want us to read from. And I've shown it time and time again that Israel absolutely controls the Wikipedia, controls the information. And I had somebody the other day say, outdated video, a video from 2010, where the prime minister, or the future prime minister of Israel, flat out says they control Wikipedia, is outdated because by 2015 or 2025, they don't control it anymore. They did back in 2010. Speaking from India, what's going on in India? India is such a fascinating place. India has the craziest architecture in the world. India has the most old world proof that you can find. It's fucking insane. And much love from Benin in Africa, West Africa. What's up, West Africa person? Sorry your name is Israel. That sucks. But the reality is, you know, it doesn't take, you know, detective work. You got to be some super sleuth to be able to figure this shit out. They lay it out there pretty easily, like pretty boldly, I would say, pretty brazenly, where, you know, our control mechanism is as obvious as it gets. Ever been to Sukan? Of course not. Of course not. I'm poor. It's just so strange to me that like I say, it's all the way that, I guess at the end of the day, there's a few different things you have to reconcile. You know, you have to think about this in different ways. Like, here we go. Like, since when they let schizophrenics live stream, right? As soon as somebody starts using the provided talking points, you know, schizophrenia, crackhead, you know, these same sort of comments that random people, I guess, make with their fake profiles. Morning, Matt. Remember, Jesus loves you all. Jesus is fucking fake, you moron. You goddamn moron. You arrogant moron. But I think the majority of the shit talkers, you always have to remember, are the system. This is Team Jorge. This is act.il. But I think the average person, you know, I like to think you guys are decent. My profile is very real. Been on here for years, bro. Sure, bro. 12 years, 4 subscribers. Gotcha. I care about real world people loving me more than a character in a book. Fuck AIPAC. Exactly. So what's this nonsense? Shut up, dumbass. If you really are concerned with submarines, go watch Submarines Aren't Real, parts 1 through 9. Everything is really well addressed. But so you know, again, it's interesting how much effort goes into the show. You know? Not only is there the effort providing you with the narrative, but there's also a significant effort to protect the narrative. You know, of course, they're going to come through. They're going to build a redundant system that protects the system against dissent, against dissidents, against people who speak up and speak out. And it's, you know, it's it's the system that's the biggest problem. Just like it's not Trump that's the big problem. It's the Trump supporters that are the big problem. Belch. But I think so much of it is manufactured, and so people just don't get it. There are so many good conspiracies, and this is the hill you just, Ray. Which one? Which hill are you talking about right now? Which hill are you saying I'm dying on? What's funny is when the submarines thing does sort of catch on and people actually start trying to figure it out, people start trying to prove it to themselves like I did, hopefully it comes back to me. You know? When you talk about the earth shape argument, I don't even know who, maybe Eric Dubay does that go back to? I don't know. You're incoherent. You're incoherent. Y-O-U-R, incoherent. Mental health, schizophrenia, yep, it's all the talking points. You are providing us the talking points. People are like, what's the talking points? Well, act.il on the completely locked up page, so nobody can just edit it, was a social networking service used by supporters of Israel to oppose online, quote, anti-Israel content such as the Boycott, Divestments, and Sanctions Movement, BDS. Its activities were referred to as, quote, an online propaganda campaign and, quote, a virtual situation room for pro-Israel experts. Pay attention. Act.il directed its users to, quote, missions to like, comment on, and share pro-Israel material on social media. It also asked users to flag, report, and respond to criticisms of Israel. Pay attention. Users were guided on how to respond, which might entail writing a reply using the provided talking points. Which is why they never actually, like, they don't go out of a certain set of lines. And it's interesting how the talking points are never the good stuff that Israel and the Jays bring to the world. It's always attack, call somebody a crackhead, do whatever you can to distract and detract from the conversation instead of just addressing what's wrong and squashing the argument, you know, if you can. Instead, it's attack. It's stupidity. It's the same talking points. The app also provided users with ready-made memes promoting Israel's perspective for them to share. Pay attention. By completing missions, users earned points, unlocked badges, and had their scores displayed on leaderboards. They turned this trolling on Israel's behalf into a video game with real life points. Unlocking badges is you getting prizes, point systems, and all that. This is what they did. This is how this works. And it makes more sense than what you're, you know, that I'm just supposed to believe that there are all these random people, 10 in the morning on a Thursday, who are just here and are mad at the guy who thinks we should kill pedos and overthrow the J control system that is committing genocide right now, is the big part of the pedo thing, controls our government, all that stuff. Who the fuck is going to disagree with me on that? Other than pedos and Jays, who is going to disagree with me on that? Pedos, Jays, and J pedos. Who's going to? Right? Beyond parts 1 through 9, subs. There are plenty of other videos where we talk about it. The thing about the subs is every time I do talk about it, they just start talking about something else. The thing about the sub conversation is just like the majority of these conversations. You don't know shit. You can't have the argument with me that submarines exist other than like, well, I saw one time. I saw a boat on the top of the water, and because I've seen movies and shit, I know that that's a submarine. So I saw submarines once. I've seen lots of videos. Like, you don't know the history of submarines. You don't know the narrative we're supposed to be able to regurgitate. You just want to, like, cry. And you're confident in this because you know I'm more than likely just going to ignore it. So you can keep saying stupid shit. Pretending like I don't want to talk. Why would I want to talk about it? Why would I talk about how to fix an old, I got a 67 fucking Mustang or whatever. I got a 67 Camaro, whatever the car. I'm going to go get Guy Williams' help on how to fix the car. Why would you ever listen to me about how to fix a car? I don't know shit. Why would you even have a conversation with me about it? And the overhead cams are tuned to this and that, and I got a torque ratio of blah, blah, blah. Your car breaks down, I'm going to ask you if you opened the hood, wiggled the wires and swore at it, kicked the tires maybe. After that, hire a real man so he can fucking fix it for you. But I'm not going to sit there and bullshit and pretend like I can have this conversation with this car enthusiast. I'm not some arrogant prick who thinks I just know everything. And that's generally what I end up dealing with, is these arrogant pricks who pretend to know things, but they don't know shit. They know. Stop. They don't know shit. Right? It's just crybaby. You want the sub argument? It goes much deeper than this, but just think about this. And this is something you don't need to be told what to think or how to think. Oh, look, a perfect square. See the square? Has a little notch here. Perfect square. You don't need to be told about this. You can experience this on your own. You might not be quite as big as I am, but I can tell you that this 200-pound body that is 70% water 70% water, and then bones and muscles and all these other really dense things. Like I don't have much body fat, never have. This 200-pound body will float on the top of the water with that much air. That's all it takes. As a matter of fact, much air means it's almost impossible to swim down to the bottom. And I definitely can't stay at the bottom unless, of course, I let out the air. 70% water, 200 pounds. And all it takes for me to float is on the top worth of air. If I am underwater, it's a constant swim to push myself underwater. If I don't swim, put in the effort, then I'll float up to the top. And I can't just sit there and get this limbo state where I just float underwater and I don't have to move, I don't have to put in effort. That requires letting out the air. But you believe that giant tubes the size of 80 school buses can be filled with pressurized air and a bunch of humans with that much air inside their lungs. And that shit can sink and swim. And not just that, they were invented, modern day nuclear subs, in the 50s. In the 50s and 52, they decided they wanted it. By like 55, 56, Hyman G. Rickover, a man who was Jewish, is born into the Jewish cult, but converted to Protestantism for some fucked up, never heard of that shit. Never met anybody like that before. Apparently he did it. And he was tasked with inventing nuclear-powered submarines. in 52, and he just did it. He figured out a way to make a nuclear fucking reactor, a nuclear facility, an entire nuclear power plant, condensed down into something that can not just fit into a sub, but fit into a sub along with a desalination plant, because they can't use salt water for whatever reason. Gunk the shit up. So you have a nuclear power plant, a desalination plant, and then all that open space for people to move around in, and then all the computers it would take to operate those systems. And we all know how great 50s and 60s computers were, little tiny computers, right? But you believe it. You. At the end of the day, I'm in this constant battle against arrogance. That's really what it comes down to. Gas compresses, displacement decreases, buoyancy lowers. Yep, and that makes all that sense. See, the problem is, you guys want to talk shit. You don't want to know anything. You answered your own question. Swim down. You're 70% water. Therefore, at least 70% of you is at least as buoyant as water. Right? And then the rest is bones and muscles and shit. And it requires worth of air, just a little space worth of air to keep me floating. Yep. I always tell people, just go to the beach. Next time you go to the beach, take a 2-liter with you. Put the cap on the 2-liter and take it out into the water. See if you can swim that 2-liter down to the bottom. Chances are that 2-liter will keep your 200-pound body floating, or however much you weigh. Smallest little bit of air keeps you floating. And yet, you believe that submarines are real. And the thing is, you know what the best part is? All of these clowns love talking about submarines. I had no idea there were so many submarine enthusiasts in the world. So many people that are going to get mad. I don't like that you said you don't believe in them and you know more than me. About how Israel is killing people. To end this pedophilia, this whole Trump thing, this Epstein thing, all this shit. They got nothing. They got nothing. Look at this shit. It's almost like a 2 literally empty bottle ain't the same as a sub full of pressure chambers and tech. Pressure chambers, like, pressurized air. And the buoyancy and the ballast tanks and all that shit. No, I get it. These ballast tanks that operate in real time, filling and emptying ballast tanks as the sub needs to raise and lower. It's just stupid. It's just stupid. And people will go, well, I don't understand titles. And the title of your video is like I don't know if you're familiar with My Lunch Break, right? My Lunch Break is a really decent channel at this point. And it's all about Tartaria, old world shit. Like, it's a really great channel. I really do like that guy. I can't imagine that there's too many people that go to his feed and are like, dude, where's the conversation about lunch? I don't see any peanut butter and jelly sandwiches anywhere.
Just look through it. It's not heavy.
I don't see any. What the hell's going on? There's no red and white checkered blanket or anything. What do you mean it's my lunch break? I don't understand how things work. Your shirt's funny. It clearly says the title of the show, and then it says part, meaning what the subject is going to be. The subject is clearly, in this video, is AIPAC. But nobody wants to fucking talk about it. Have you seriously never been in a submarine? Yeah, that's what it is. What's stopping you guys from spending money? Spending some money into healthcare. Like, ain't no way millions could go to the military-industrial complex, but God forbid that money is used for public healthcare. It's a great point. Ew. My dead mother sucked you off? That's fucking gross. Can you imagine, like, again, this guy's talking about submarines, motherfucker, your mom was sucking my dick last night. Like, what kind of weird, if this isn't the system doing its best to stop us from just asking questions, like, even if I'm wrong, the fact that we would be questioning it should be a good thing. It should be exercising our brains and trying to prove things one way or another. Stop fucking calling people dumb and then talking about politics and then speaking sexually. Or how about this? How about this is too much for you? You're probably a dumb J, so you should leave. Instead of you telling me what I should and shouldn't be talking about on my feed, you arrogant prick, why don't you just go do something else? It's not like you're actually engaging in the conversation. Technically, a submarine floats by default. It goes underwater because engines and steering. If you put an engine on something, aim it, it goes down. No, that's not how things work. But okay. Fuck you. Ooh, you're Y-O-U-R wrong, but you're Y-O-U-R the only one that doesn't know it. Seriously, how can somebody be that dumb? You're so dumb, you're going to come on here and talk about how stupid someone else is, and you can't even get your yours, theirs, twos. You can't even get your basic shit right. Nobody is mad at you. We're just baffled. There's nothing wrong with asking questions, but when you just ignore facts, you're no longer just asking questions. You're being contrarian. Oh, contrarian. My bad. My eyes aren't the best. You guys just don't get it. What about you smoking blunts and yup? Look at this shit. It's clearly what I'm doing is affecting things. It's not like these guys are trolling the average news station and telling them, why aren't you doing more specials about Epstein? Why aren't you looking into this part? Why aren't you doing that? Why aren't we talking about Monsanto? Why aren't we, they're not doing that. They're here mad at the guy, not mad, desperate for the attention of the guy who thinks we should kill pedos, who might not believe in submarines. And again, I went back and I looked. There's no fucking arguments about the submarines. It's just stupid shit. No, I love how people like you can read the first, but you don't read that part that says AIPAC controls the U.S. or AIPAC runs the U.S. You don't see that part? That part's not something you're interested in? Clearly, smuggling is more helpful than trolling about reality and pedophiles. I mean, it's insane. He's right about that, though. If you're going to insult someone's intelligence, put your own in check first. Well, at least we have somebody that sees something here. You saw a pedo from Israel who was sent back to Israel. Yeah, isn't that fucking crazy? The high-ranking pedo who was, just under Netanyahu pedo. I'm glad you mentioned Monsanto. While you're sitting here ranting, I'm running 20 head of cattle, zero chemical. You're running cattle while you're crying on somebody's YouTube page. Shouldn't you be busy? How are you running cattle and yet you're here crying? That's pretty fucking weird. That's pretty weird. But this is what you see over and over again. And so, just in case people don't really understand what they're looking at, so I just read you guys act.il, which is the real life version of the trolling, that they get points and they get prizes and all that. The secondary version is Team Jorge. And Team Jorge is just one Israeli black ops organization. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of other organizations that do the same thing. But Team Jorge is the name given to an outfit of Israeli contractors specialized in the use of malign cyber activities, including hacking, sabotage, and bot farm-run social media disinformation campaigns to manipulate the outcomes of elections. So if they can interfere with elections, fucking with some dude's YouTube page probably isn't difficult. By the way, if you're watching, like, share, sub. I know that usually tanks my feed when I say those words, but I'm gonna risk it. If you're watching and you disagree, like the feed, share it, take 2 seconds, share it on Facebook, whatever. Share it with the heading, "This guy's crazy, somebody come tell him I'm not smart enough," if that's what you need to do, whatever. Like, share, sub. It helps out, I guess, that's what they say. One of the organization's primary tools is a software package called Advanced Impact Media Solutions, or AIMS. We'll come back to that. The group was exposed in February of 2023. Big year 2023 was for Israel. After an award-winning undercover operation by journalists from Israel and France, right? It says that, but then if you go down, it's like, oh yeah, from France, Germany, Indonesia, Israel, Kenya, Spain, Tanzania, and the United States. So it's actually a lot bigger. The organization has been active since at least 2015 on paper, where, just before Russia supposedly interfered with the election to get Trump to lose, because Trump lost, remember, lost by 2.7 million votes. And AIPAC, the swamp, put him in anyway. You know how Trump likes to say, I'm going to lower the gas prices. I'm going to lower the food prices. I'm going to end the wars in 24 hours with one phone call. I'm going to, release this files, that files. I'm going to drain the swamp. You know how Trump likes to make those promises he doesn't keep? Well, it was that same swamp that he was going to drain that put him in office anyway, and then told you Russia did it. Russia interfered with the election. Russia interfered and they lost. It was AIPAC that did it. Right? AIPAC is the one. They tried everything they could to make Hillary look bad, and we were just like, we're not putting Donald Trump in office. Are you crazy? At least 2015, and boasts of having manipulated 33 presidential elections worldwide. If you know about the number 33, and Tekashi 6ix9ine's friend, I just saw the report came through my shit today. Tekashi 6ix9ine's friend gunned down at 33. 33 is, especially, look up COVID and 33, and look at how many different cities, states, communities decided to have a press conference to announce that there were 33 total cases or 33 new cases or something like that. If you're in the conspiracy world, you've been here for any lengthy period of time, you understand the significance of the number 33. It's kind of hard to ignore it, actually. 33 presidential elections worldwide. Don't worry, white people. Many of them were in Africa. So at least 4 were in Africa. And in 27 cases with successful results. 27 out of 33 times. That's 82% of the time. This one organization was hired to interfere with a presidential election. They were successful. 82% of the time. Their activities were revealed following a 2022 sting operation in Tel Aviv carried out by 3 undercover journalists who posed as prospective clients and filmed their interactions with Tal, T-A-L, Hanan, H-A-N-A-N, the group's leader and former Israeli Special Forces operative, in which he explained the inner workings of the organization. He said that they've been active, or they've existed for more than 2 decades, and have been engaged in propaganda and disinformation activities in more than 30 countries. Their services have been available to government intelligence agencies, political campaigns, and private companies that wish to covertly manipulate public opinion. One of the organization's primary tools is a software package called Advanced Impact Media Solutions, or AIMS. Pay attention. The software automates centralized control of thousands, according to the articles, not just the summary, as many as 30,000 at any given time. Thousands of fake social media profiles. And it's not even bots. They say it's more like avatars. It's this really advanced software that nobody else has. And the profile has multiple profiles. It has a profile in Facebook. It has a profile in whatever social media service they need. Each individual avatar has multiple profiles. They can generate up to 30,000 bots at any given time to attack someone that is critical of Israel or the Jays. Now, when you look at my feed and you look at all of the dumb comments on here, if you pull up most of them, they have these profiles that have been active for 12 years and have 0 subscribers, 4 subscribers. Because that makes sense, right? Especially if they're so active that they're going to come here and they're going to talk shit. They're going to be a consistent commenter. They come here every day and they comment a bunch of different shit. Well, they would have like-minded people. Like-minded people would have seen their comments after all these years, all their interaction, and they would have some subscribers. But between act.il and Team Jorge, it explains who is going to come to a feed trashing Israel and stand up for them. I mean, what normal person, what decent human being stands for Israel at this point? What decent human being isn't just mortified by everything that has to do with Israel and the Jays? And, the more you look, the worse they are. It's not the other way around. You don't look into that cult and you're like, holy shit, they are just so good. Their beliefs are so pure. It all makes so much sense. You guys know that the Exodus story, the story that has, many movies have been made and all kinds of dumb bullshit. Like it's this huge, it's almost like people think of it as an historical event. Like it's real. Charlton Heston and, part the Red Sea and all this other bullshit. Like we all know there's absolutely no way somebody parts the Red Sea so 2 million people can walk through, and then as the bad guys are catching up, the sea closes and swallows them up. We know that's not true. Like we know this. We aren't stupid. The narrative that they wandered the desert for 40 years. 2 million people wandered the desert for 40 years. Is there a soul alive that actually believes that shit? Seriously, are any of you dumb enough to say you believe that 2 million people wandered the desert for 40 years? Because, even our historical narrative that pushes the religion on us for some reason, our historical narrative tells you that Exodus is just an impossibly stupid story. Yet it's essential to Judaism. Judaism doesn't exist without Exodus. If Judaism doesn't exist, then Christianity doesn't exist. And their entire control network doesn't exist. Are you really stupid enough to say, okay, well, because they need me to, I'm just going to believe shit that makes no fucking sense? Anything is possible. just because there is nothing left of the old ways doesn't mean there never was. Yeah, that's what that means. Yeah. Anything is possible. Like, these are the same people that if you're like, there was a reset, you know, do you know about Tartaria? Do you understand the concept of reset? Do you understand that we are not advancing? You know, there was a much more advanced version of us here a few hundred years ago at most. Probably closer to 150, maybe 200 years. And it's just, it all just contradicts each other. It all just contradicts itself. Truth is so much stronger than fiction. Hare Chris. Who gives a fuck what somebody said at some other time? But it's true. I mean, it is true. Truth is a lot stranger than fiction. But the truth is that the part about the fiction that people don't want to acknowledge is that somebody made that shit up. So you know, a true person made that shit up. But like, look at the narrative we're given. Like, it's amazing to me that as soon as I start talking about Exodus and how impossible it is, why aren't all you Jews and Christians coming on here and defending it and telling me how it's real and how it makes sense? You know, this is essential to your belief structure. Second coming of Christ may have happened in 70 AD. No, that's when the Dead Sea Scrolls are said to have existed. But see, this is where your insecure, ignorant arrogance comes into play. And you might be a good person. You might be nice. But when it comes to what you believe, it's all insecure, ignorant arrogance. How many of you know even what AD stands for? Like, unless not the people that have been here and heard me talking about it, but your average person. I know there are some of you that will know what it means, but your average person has no idea. Your average person will say something stupid like it means after death. AD means after death. And it doesn't. We have somebody that knows. There are, like I say, there are going to be a few people that know, but even when it comes to that, so now you know what Anno Domini means, or you know what that is. Here's somebody that says, you're Y-O-U-R smoking weed. Get your fucking basic words right before you step into this arena. If you give me an easy stab point in this gladiator arena we have, if you're walking out like this, I'm going to slice at your neck. So you might want to cover up a little bit better. You might want to have offensive defense where you handle the thing before it fucking happens. It does look like it's about to rain. Doesn't mean it's going to, though. But Anno Domini is one of these things where Anno Domini, whatever, however you want to say it. Like, you just don't, like, you feel smart if you know about that. Because you already do know more than like 90% of the people that at least it's not AD after death. But when it comes to what it is, you have no fucking idea. It's just like the submarine argument. You don't fucking know. Slavery lasted a little over 400 years. Every country is more like 50. Again, somebody's just talking nonsense at this point. Like, it really is wild how incredibly ignorant, insecure, and arrogant everyone is. You literally believe what you want to believe because it makes you comfortable, it makes you feel good, it handles your fear of death. You know, well, I'm going to go to heaven when I die, even though I had sex before I was married and had sex for reasons other than procreation. I don't like that part that says that's against the rules. So I'm just gonna say I'm sorry. I'm just gonna read it. Can you imagine like having sex and then afterward being, I'm sorry I had sex, and having sex again, I'm sorry I had sex. What a fucking stupid bunch of shit, right? You're a slave in the United States. Just because you have the illusion of freedom does not mean you're a slave. The slave masters, they're fucking the foundation of their beliefs. They believe that upon the arrival of the Messiah, that all of them, each one of them, will get 2,800 Gentile Goyim slaves. Like, these are the people that run the show. And for all we know, in their inner circles, they do believe that the Messiah has already shown up. And for anyone to control, any one individual to control 2,800 people would be virtually impossible. You could be the biggest badass in the world. You're not going to be able to control 2,800 people. Especially if you're some little slimy piece of shit Jay. They're definitely not physically controlling 2,800 people. So maybe it's not a literal thing. Maybe it's a figurative thing. Just like the whole nonsense is just figurative and metaphor and bullshit. Maybe it takes 2,800 of us Goyim slaves to provide them their free life that they live. Free healthcare, free education, free housing, free food, free everything. Free trips around the world, free allowance basically. Maybe it's more of a, you know, you have to see it for what it is, not just this literal biblical bullshit that they put on you. And the people who believe, who the foundation of their religious cult beliefs is that eventually we are all their slaves, they're probably not good people. Anybody who chooses to align themselves with that cult is probably not a good person. Look at how stupid people are. They just start yelling. They just start like regurgitating things other people have said. Seek Jesus Christ while you're still breathing. But they don't know shit about it. This dumbass doesn't know about the whole Bible stuff. And whenever something comes up that they don't like, they'll just, oh, I have faith. Well, Christ is this and that. Blah. They just revert back to this factory settings, slave mode. All you got to do is die. Just do what you're told when you are alive. Like if you were to like, share, and sub this feed, or dislike. If you dislike this feed, smash that dislike button. But, just follow the rules, listen to the J's, turn a blind eye to genocide, slavery, pedophilia, all that stuff. Never mind all the pedophilia in the church, and just keep your mouth shut. Keep the fucking wheels turning, do your part. And then when you die, boy, oh boy, does it get good. Whew. You get to go to heaven. Because that's possible. I mean, there is a very good chance, more than likely chance, you're going to go to hell and burn for all of eternity. Just like Jesus is. But, you're so good. You didn't have sex before you were married, right? You don't have any tattoos, right? You didn't have sex for anything other than procreation, right? You didn't swear, did you? You followed all the rules, right? Knowing that your eternity Your eternal damnation is wrapped up in this narrative. Don't you think if you knew that you would spend eternity, you could spend eternity in hell, that you would do everything in your power not to do that? He already came to you by sending me. What an arrogant, like, thank you. Thank you for spamming that. What a great proof of what I'm saying. This arrogant piece of shit not only believes in Jesus and Christianity as the right thing for no fucking reason whatsoever. They also believe that Jesus sent them here to look stupid. Christians are among the most arrogant people in the world. Obviously, they don't believe they're chosen by God, so that takes them down like a little notch in the arrogance chart. But everyone is it's just straight up arrogance, right? Jesus sent you here to agree with me. There you go. Uh-oh, now what? Are you going to say that that person's wrong? Are you going to say that that person is you're going to call them a liar? Jesus was only sending you? If I were before judgment, I'd say I'm not worthy to enter if asked. Can you imagine being trained to believe shit like that? You believe that life is all about trials and tribulations and struggle. It's all a big test. Yeah, you were raped as a child, but that was just a test. Yeah, I know that rape has led to you not being able to have successful relationships and nightmares and flashbacks, and you might have a kid or two that you don't know how to necessarily relate to, and you create all this extra drama for them and all. Yeah, that was all. God had a plan for you. God loves you. But I'm actually grateful that the dumb Christian is just spamming, because it proves the point. They can't have the intelligent conversation. There is no intelligence to be had from their side. So they have to resort to just spamming trash, because literally that's all they believe in. Spam trash. Religion is just spammed trash. And that's the foundation of who they are. It's fucking crazy. Yeah, everyone wants it released, but only after they tell me who's on it. Who touched you, and did the priest use the... Yep, see, now people are making jokes about that shit. Who makes pedophile jokes? Other than pedophiles, who makes pedophile jokes? Greetings to Austria. Greetings to Australia. I'm so glad you guys are here. Don't forget to like, share, and sub. Like 90% of the people have been molested or felt inappropriately touched at some point in their life. Yeah, it's crazy. They say it's 2 out of 3 women, but it's more like 3 out of 3 women. And so much of it has to do with religious bullshit. There's an article I highly suggest everyone reads. You gotta search on Google, search Israel Hayom, which is the name of the website, Israel Hayom, Hayom. And the article is called Bottom of Darkness. And it's all about the ritual sexual abuse that runs rampant in Israel. It's like well known. And one of the like caveats of it all is that the abusers make the abuse so horrendous that if the kid says it happened to them, people think it's just exaggeration. And that to have that mentality, for a kid to come up to you and tell you they were abused in any sort of way, even if it's horrific beyond your imagination, for you to go, oh, well, you're just making that up. There's got to be another reason why you're getting in so much trouble at school. There's got to be another reason why you're acting so crazy lately. To think that's the general mentality in Israel is to discount the children telling the truth? Why do you think that is? Because most of the people doing the discounting had the same abuse happen to them. You know nothing about Israeli culture, and you read one stupid book. Yup, I know nothing about you pieces of shit. You're right. Why don't you go ahead and explain to me why Matitza Pape is okay? You're in here and you're talking about, you know, how I don't know shit. You tell me why Matitza Pape is okay, and then we'll go from there. You know, you people are sick. What about the mikvahs? What about women's vaginas being so disgusting they need to be cleansed once a month? No, I don't pick and choose what I like. I'm honest. That's what it takes. No picking and choosing. Just be honest. Don't overlook a bunch of crazy shit just because you want the reward. Just because you want the benefit. That's what most people do. That's true. You don't want to understand context. You just want to have it and pretend. See, it's funny how, again, instead of actually telling me what I'm wrong about specifically, grab a piece, tell me what piece I'm wrong about. You want to argue that I don't understand context and all that. This is a typical Israeli argument. That you just don't understand the context of the genocide that they're committing. You're just a dumb goyim. You don't understand. You are picking and choosing to make it look worse and justify your hate. Yeah, that's what you do. You look at the thing honestly and then pick it apart. All those things that justify your hatred are legitimate things. And if the hate and the negative outweighs the good, yeah, let's call it for what it is. Let's call a spade a spade. Now, these are the rules that you shall observe too. When you buy a Hebrew slave, he shall serve 6 years, and the 7th he shall go free for nothing. Yeah, oh, well, that makes it better then. Jays have to wash 4 times a month. Gross. Look, the only way is so stupid, they can't say anything new or intelligent. You're picking and choosing, yep, don't know the context of it. There's a context for circumcision and then sucking on it. Yeah, that's context. You got to put that in context. That, you know, you got to understand the context behind that. Of course Donald Trump hates me. I hate pedos. And I hope all pedos hate me. That's probably why you're here. Because you pedos are really scared someone like me, especially me, gets any sort of platform and starts calling for your death. Because I don't, you know, there is no second chance. You fuck with a child, you rape somebody. That's it. That's it. Some violent rape against somebody, like it's one thing, you know, you're 17 and the girl's 15 or the boy's 15, whatever. And the parents are like, that's, or, you know, 2 people have a great time, they get drunk, they have sex. The girl the next day is ashamed of herself, so she cries rape. That's, no. But if you're screaming rape or you're screaming no, and you're trying to fight and somebody can still have a hard on during that, they should be killed. Let's see. No, we aren't pedos. There was 2 horrible options like always, and we picked the better one. What the fuck are you talking about? Jays are pedos, for sure. All you got to do is look at Hollywood. Who are the ones that consistently get caught raping children? 100% of older men get yeast infections, yeah, whatever. Of the foreskin so bad you can't pull it back anymore. It's a real problem. Right. It's a real problem that none of us have heard of. What about the fact that if you get old enough, your balls hit the fucking toilet water? You know, should you cut your balls off because eventually they're going to hit the toilet water? Probably not. But either way, if circumcision was an okay thing to do, you wouldn't do it to babies. You wouldn't do it to babies who have no choice in the matter and traumatize them, especially what's done to the goyim. It's one thing to have a party 8 days after the kid is born. It's another thing to do it hours after the kid's born.
Don't mess up your hair.
Don't. What? Don't you hit me. I'll punch you. You want to punch? You want to punch? Hiya!
You got in the car. Yeah.
No, don't you smile. Don't smile. I can see you. This isn't your truck? Nice. Time to do the crime.
Luckily, right now they gave me one that's actually loaded.
Yeah, this is nice. Why don't you just take my car and I'll borrow this?
Sitting in the car 3 days ago with the neighbor was smoking on it. About 10 minutes in, these lights turn on. You know, usually turn on when you open the door. So I said, did you open the door? He said, nah. Listen here, it says lift gate's open. Get out, it's closed. As much as I try opening it with the button, the remote, my hand, I took the fuse out to put the power off. Do a manual. Won't fucking open. But now when I drive, this whole thing is red and tells me lift gate's open and all the lights want to stay on. I'm like, fuck this shit. How long will I have? 3 more years of this truck. I ain't about to deal with this shit.
No.
Drop it to them and they said 2 hours, 3 hours. So we walked the mire, wasted time, went to Chick-fil-A, just to kill time. After 2-3 hours of doing nothing, they're like, oh, we can't get to it today. So they gave me a rental. Actually, it's funny because they gave me a rental prior to this one that was base, nothing in it, which I get upset because I'm like, dude, I paid for all this shit you guys give me base. They bring the car around and gave me a car. It's like 350 miles. You got to check engine light. So you guys want to give me a car to check engine light? I'm like, what? They look at it. Oh, we'll get you a different one. They pull up the loaded one. Why didn't you give me this to fucking off the truck?
Oh, that rich life, buddy. I can't relate. I can't relate.
Not for me, man. Not for you, brother.
Take it easy, man. Stop paying attention to your friend who pulled up for a second. Pay attention to me. Oh, man. You guys just can't help but prove me right. You can't help it. Because I'm not wrong. That's the thing. When you're right, it's impossible to prove you wrong. And that's what this always comes down to. If I was wrong about anything at all, you'd focus on it. You wouldn't sit here continuously making yourself look stupid by not being able to address simple things. It's just that stupid. Yeah, but is to discredit counter perspectives and you're constantly correct. Look at this. Instead of actually addressing any specific thing I'm getting wrong, it's just more dumb shit. And they sit here for hours doing it. Right? Hours. Look at how fucking silly these guys are. These are all people who aren't like, man, let's try to figure out how we can expose all this pedo stuff. Figure out a way we can get these fuckers killed. Let's unify the Goyim so we can overthrow these J slave masters who have us all living much shittier lives than we should be. Have everyone believing in the self-defeating fucking nonsense that is Christianity. Oh, you have a purpose, do you? Well, what is it? Well, I don't know. Chasing down a purpose you don't know what it is. What if your purpose is to be some asshole? What if your purpose is to get killed? You know? How do you know? It's all just so stupid. It really is like, it's just stupid. And here you go, somebody saying, silence, goy. See, they're too stupid to argue. They can't argue anything good about what they believe. I can't tell you the last time a dumb Jay came in here and was like, dude, you're wrong about Jayism because we're good because we do this and we do that and, you know, this rumor isn't true and that. I can't remember any of them ever even attempting to, because they can't. You know, they can't. What about those kids that die every day? What's their THERE purpose? You mean THEIR? Look at these fucking inbred dumb pieces of shit on here. Instead of encouraging people to, okay, you know what? You don't agree with me? Like, this is what I do. I encourage you to disagree. I encourage you to ask whatever questions you have, because I believe I'm right. And I believe that if I can't answer your question, then I could at least look it up and maybe we can both figure something out. I would never tell anybody, silence. Like, I even want to hear from these dumb J pieces of shit. I'd love to know their perspective. I wouldn't tell them to just stop talking. That's what you do when you can't argue with the person. When you're not smart enough to answer for what they're saying or to debunk them, it's silence. Just be quiet. If they were really these God's chosen people, super special, blah, 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 they would encourage us to ask as many questions as we could and then answer them. Hey, look at how fucking weird you guys are. Jehovah, yeah. Such dumb shit. You know, I feel like I provide you guys with a lot of evidence. And if I'm always willing to be wrong. Kids, don't turn out like this jokehead. Don't ask questions, people. Don't ask questions. Just be silent. Don't, it's okay that we rape children all the time. It's okay because we're chosen. We're God's chosen people. Look at this shit. Look at look at the crybaby. It just proves the point. It just makes my argument so much stronger. The shit I read yesterday about Epstein, it's just like everything else. It's like there is a narrative, and that narrative is provided by the system. A lot of times before they have it all figured out, or maybe they just don't care because they know how stupid we are. But they when they present things, they let things come out that contradict what we're supposed to believe. And the article I read yesterday that was written on August 13th, 3 days after Epstein died, it just completely destroys the narrative we're given. And it's, like I say, I can always prove you guys are all arrogant, right? The battle is always arrogance. Because your government officially told you, the same government that tells you we went to the moon, the earth is round, your vote matters, Jesus, religion, blah, 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 because the government absolutely pushes Christianity on us. In God we trust. You believe all that shit, right? You have to, right? The crazy people don't think the earth is round. The crazy people think we didn't go to the moon because the government told us we did. And yet when Pam Bondi tells you, or the Trump administration itself tells you that there is no Epstein list, it's all just bullshit, you don't believe that, right? you don't believe that we should just go to sleep and forget about Epstein. Are we still talking about Jeffrey Epstein? What? That motherfucker is huge. You're arrogant as fuck. Most of you, all of you, are arrogant as fuck. Because you think you can decipher which things are true and which aren't. I guarantee nobody on here believes that Oswald shot Kennedy. Lone gunman all by himself, got off 8 shots with a bolt action rifle. Or got off 3 shots in 8 seconds, impossibly. Got off three shots in 8 seconds, hitting two of them were hits, one of which is the magic bullet. None of you believe that. Rightfully so. None of you should believe that. Your government tells you that you should believe that. And you go, no, government, you're lying. I don't believe you, you're lying. However, when you tell me that COVID is going to get me, I'll run out and get my shots. However, when you start getting to the 5th and 6th booster shot, I know better. I'm not going to go get that booster shot, that last one. You're lying to me. That's what you're saying. When you're saying I'm not going to get the booster shot that the government's telling me I have to get, you're saying the government is lying. I don't need to listen to them. When you say that you don't believe Oswald shot Kennedy, you're saying the government is fucking lying to you. Release the Kennedy files because the government is lying to you. And you arrogantly strut your shit. Man, I don't believe in 9/11. I don't believe in 9/11. I don't believe Oswald shot Kennedy. I only got my initial booster. I only got my initial vaccine. I didn't get the fucking booster shot. You walk around like you know shit. Just like you Christians. Yeah, I know. My Jesus is true. Yeah. So what? I'm second tier in my own religion. So what? Nah. I'm not the chosen in my own religion. Man, so it's impossibly stupid. So what? You walk around acting like you've looked well into, Scientology and Islam and Mormonism and Judaism and Hindu and Buddhism and some crazy religion that the people of, Bing Bok Book in a small little town of this and that, in the jungles that have had very little interaction with white people. You've looked into their belief structure and you've decided that they're wrong too. You can debunk it all using facts. You're smart. You can debunk all these other religions. But when it came to Christianity, you were like, I tried my best and I just couldn't debunk it. It just made so much sense. I had to be like, yes, I believe that the completely different religion, the bad guys in the Bible, not Satan, but the bad guys, the people that killed the Jesus, the superhero, the Christian God's only son, that those are Christian gods, my gods, chosen people. And I'm just one of the slaves. I believe that because, I've debunked everything else and this one just makes the most sense. Not a single one of you say that shit. Believe in Jesus. It's like there's a short circuit here. It's like they don't hear what I'm saying fully. So they just go, I'll be the example. Believe in Jesus. Ask them why they believe in Jesus. They have no fucking idea. And it doesn't matter whether it's your religious affiliation, your political affiliation, what you believe in about history, any of it. It's just your arrogance. It's especially when somebody presents you with an alternative and you just discount the alternative. Nah, that's not true. Nah. You don't believe in the round, or you think the earth is flat? Huh. Well, that's crazy. Why? What arguments do you have? I mean, seriously, what do you think we spend all the money on? I've seen pictures. So that's how you know it's true, because you saw a picture? Because everybody told you to think that way. What in your own personal experience makes you believe that what you're told is true? Well, literally nothing. Nothing. And it doesn't matter whether we're talking about Christianity or we're talking about all your Trump association, your Trump fucking fascination, your ability to overlook the pedophile stuff and be like, I still support this racist, homophobic, sexist piece of shit. Anybody that can overlook pedophilia is a pedophile. And you might not consider yourself a pedophile because you haven't actually touched a child. You just look at videos and shit all the time on your phone. Well, guess what? That makes you a pedophile, you piece of shit. You have that saved folder on your computer or that secret app on your phone that looks like something else. Yeah. Gordon Flowers, Dads Against Predators, Pop Squad, Creep Catchers, what's his name? Justin Payne. Like the list goes on and on and on of pedo hunters out there that wouldn't have successful channels where they catch people every day, multiple times a day, if the pedo situation wasn't much worse than we think it is. If the idea of weirdos who might not actually touch children, but they trade in child exploitation materials, if that wasn't such a tremendous problem, if it wasn't half of your neighbors, then it wouldn't be one of the largest online revenue generators in the world. You can live in your little rose-colored glasses. Jesus, I believe in Jesus. Jesus, Jesus is why I got the job I got. Jesus is why I was driving the other day and a deer jumped out in front of me and I jerked the wheel and my car completely spun around 366 times and then it came to a stop and I somehow missed everyone and any trees and anything and I just drove off. Jesus is good. God is good. God protected me from an accident in that time. God didn't prevent me from spinning out to begin with, but God prevented me from getting hurt. Yeah, those kids in the church that keep getting raped, man, it's not God. They keep dressing all sexy for the clergy, I guess. It's not God's fault. It's free will. And those children are just wear, this cologne, that the clergy just loves so much. If the kids would just stop dressing sexy, then they wouldn't keep getting raped by so much clergy. God has nothing to do with it. It's free will. It's all free will. All those Christians in Palestine right now that live in a tent because God's chosen people bombed everything they have. Bombed their house, bombed their city, their schools, their hospitals, everything. And now they're living in these makeshift tents where they're starving to death, slowly starving to death. And then Israel is also dropping bombs on those tents. But it's only because they're not praying like you prayed for your job. They didn't tithe like you did. They didn't have their eyes closed quite as hard as you do. Right? God answers your prayers, just not theirs. Not all those children that know the preacher's about to rape them and they're going, please God, please Jesus, please help me, please, please, please. God's like, shut up. I gotta help Tim. you know, I gotta help Tim with this job. I gotta help Tim not get in a car accident. You know, it's a level of arrogance that is just unmatched. Well, almost unmatched. Again, believing that you happen to be born God's chosen people is the most arrogant, repugnant thing, you know, of all the belief structures out there. The one that enables you to do the Matitza Bapé and all the other bullshit is that you believe you're God's chosen people. And, you know, it's just the way things are. Like, it's just phenomenally stupid, man. It really is stupid. Look at this shit. I love that. I'm rage baiting. I love that term. It's not my fault. He posted something that made me rage. He was rage baiting me. What kind of fucking cowardly clown says shit like rage bait? And the idea that what I say or think or feel makes you mad, so I shouldn't say it. Like, who the fuck? This is just more of that arrogance. You know, especially that Christian arrogance. You know, the idea that well, you know, I you say shit like, I don't mind gay people. I just don't want to see it in front of me. Well, who the fuck are you? Who cares what you want to see? Don't look. When you see a man and a woman make it out, do you sit there like, oh, that's so, squeeze her titty. Yeah, that's beautiful. Oh, I just love seeing that so much. Maybe I can get closer so I can hear the noises. Is that what you do? But when it's gay people, you're like, they shouldn't be allowed to be gay. Well, I don't, what have, you mean you let a transgender read a book to a bunch of little kids? That programs them. That program, if they see a transgender reading a book, then they're going to become transgender. Which, again, I always talk about I'm going to run for president. I am running for president in 2028, and I have multiple platforms. One of those platforms that I'm running on is a program where doctors read books to kids. And if you come into the school and you're a doctor, you're dressed as a doctor, you have on your little jacket and your stethoscope, then that means if you read the book to the kid, then the kids will become doctors, and we'll just have a fucking whole society full of doctors. Right? Isn't that how that works? Uh-oh, I think they shut the comments off again. I think they shut the comments off again. Why do you think they keep shutting the comments off? From my perspective. Twice in a row today. First time was within 10 minutes. Second time we got around the hour mark, right? Like we always do. Make it make sense, people. Make it make sense. You know, I believe I can make it make sense. That's the difference between me and you. I can make the comment section make sense, right? It makes sense that it's Team Jorge and it's act.il. It makes sense, because again, that's literally their stated purpose, is to attack people that talk about Israel, talk about the Jays, whatever. That's what they do. That's why they exist. And the fact that that's on, it's so obvious, it's so well known that Wikipedia talks about it. That validates it, right? So there's that part. But then, like I say, there's that other part where it's the same people that can still support Trump, the people that are willing to overlook pedophilia, Yeah, it's the same people that come here and try to stop the guy who's talking about killing pedos. It makes sense that the Jays and Israel and pedos would be mad at me and would do what they can to disrupt my feed. That makes sense. Nothing else does. You know? Even if you're like, I'm just a troll, I don't have a life, so I look for other people doing stuff only if they're talking about truth or shit, only if they're talking about killing pedos and stuff. Then I try to interfere. If you really are that person, like it still doesn't make sense that you would be here of all places. If you're really just a troll who likes to fuck with things, why don't you go fuck with news feeds and try to get them to, release the files? Why aren't you trolling, especially the people that can only repeat themselves over and over again and can't actually engage in conversation? So why don't you just go to your average newscaster and just invade their comment section with release the files, investigate AIPAC, whatever. I mean, investigate Robert Maxwell. Investigate Donald Barr. If you're going to be a troll, you could at least do that. But instead, you come here like it just doesn't make sense. So I do my best to try to make sense of things, whether it's religion, whether it's politics, whether it's whatever. When it comes to the feed and the comment section getting shut off, what makes sense? Well, what makes sense is the system doesn't like the fact that they can't actually argue, like they can't provide any sort of argument, and that I just pick apart what they say, pointing out it must be pedos that are here, it must be Israelis that are here, it must be Jays that are here. And so to be able to say the nonsense they need to say without me picking it apart, they shut my ability to view it off. Makes sense. It doesn't make sense that I experience a glitch that no one else does. Multiple times a day. It just doesn't work that way. If it does for you, then, you probably got vaccinated. You probably believe in Jesus. And if somebody could provide a better explanation than I do, I'd love to hear it. Of course, now I wouldn't be able to see it if you could, but I already know you can't. I've been doing this for long enough that I know what's going to come my way. And it's, 90% of the time it's just crybaby. It's crybaby J pedo bullshit. It's them, trying to shoot the messenger, not trying to destroy the message, not trying to change the message. Just like Israel always does. I mean, go look at any goddamn news clip, interview, anything you can see with anybody J, not anybody J. They do have some actors that play the other side, like your Bernie Sanders and shit. But look at anybody that's in defense of Israel or in defense of the Jays, and present me whatever arguments they say. Because all I ever see them say is, it always starts off with, well, it's biblical. And as soon as you go, yeah, let's get past the biblical shit. I don't believe in it, and it's an up to interpretation anyway, right? So to say that it's biblical is pretty selfish. It immediately turns into, that's anti-Semitism. Like that's literally the next step. You either believe it's biblical, or you're a bad guy for saying, don't say that. They don't address anything that's being said. They tell you not, or they tell the other person that they can't say that. You're not allowed to say those things. There's an interview where Piers Morgan is talking to just, they love to elevate their own to these this is the minister of, you know, information on Tuesdays, the second Tuesday of each month. This is the minister of information on that day. And so they have this high power position where they get paid a bunch of money, but they don't actually work. But Piers is on there, and he's got one of them on there. And he's going, look, I supported everything. I've been nothing but supportive to Israel. Until it started leaking out that you guys are killing children. That there are so many children being brought in that have bullets in their heads. There are so many. The whole idea of corralling people into a small space so they can get the aid that you created the need for them to have in the first place. Now somehow you've weaseled your way into controlling the distribution of aid, only to shoot them being there. Like, that's a problem. And I supported everything Israel did until that point. And as soon as I started pointing out that they're killing children, instantly I'm labeled anti-Semitic. And I start getting all this anti-Semitism shit. And the representative is like, well, it wasn't exactly what you said, but it was how you said it that came across as anti-Semitic. And, and it was just this bullshit. And at one point he's asking questions, and the guy's like, it's Hamas and Baham. And he's like, it can't all be Hamas. You can't just justify every little aggression, every little thing as, well, Hamas did it. It's all Hamas. The reason we're bombing schools is because of Hamas. Hamas built tunnels under the school. Hamas is using human shields. Israel has been saying the human shields thing forever. When the way that Israel is set up, it's the definition of human shields. Their military base is directly in the heart of a civilian area, surrounded by schools, hospitals, in houses. Right in the middle. It's not like off on the side somewhere. Literally human shields. And as soon as you start saying that, they go, oh, that's anti-Semitic. That's anti-Semitism. You can't say that. You're not supposed to say that. And the problem being, only other person I've seen that's like says, what is that, Abby Martin chick? Is that who she is? I can't remember. But she'll say shit like, I don't care, but she's still, all of the talking heads on our side still try to accommodate the cult. And it's the accommodation of the cult that is the real problem. You can't, like, the revolution that is necessary isn't we fix this part or that part. We have to fix the whole thing. And when it comes to the genocide happening, well, that's just a tentacle of the monster. That genocide has been happening for a long time. But another tentacle controls the news that we see and how we think about it. Another tentacle controls the history that we think we know. Another tentacle controls the entertainment industry that isn't speaking out, that's preventing all of the famous people from speaking out against genocide right now. It's so fucking telling that across the entertainment world board, other than, a handful of people, everyone is silent about the genocide taking place right now. Think about shit like Live Aid and all how they used to, the apartheid concerts and the hunger concerts and all these huge things that they used to do where the bands would come together. All we need is radio goo goo ch radio gaga ch. All we see is whatever. Here is, I don't know. It's a great, I hate that song, but that performance is fucking amazing. There should be all sorts of concerts going on right now to aid the Palestinians. We shouldn't even be letting it happen. What's happening is atrocious. You know, just based on what's happened so far, the U.S. should go in there and wipe that fucking that I don't even know what you call that monster out that can do these that can starve children, that have been caught on tape raping Palestinians, children and adults. On tape, it's been caught. And then when those people actually get in trouble for it, the Israelis storm whatever the agency is demanding that person's release, and then they just get released. This has happened multiple times throughout this massacre, because it's definitely not a war. A war is when you have equal components fighting each other. They don't even talk about Israeli casualties, because the more they talk about it, the more obvious it would all be. Oh, we hear me, radio goo goo. Now that's gonna be in my head all fucking day. You know, this is, but like I said, you have all these tentacles. And if you cut off a tentacle, probably grows back in twos, you know. But you can't cut off a tentacle and hope to fix it. It's going to grow back. Might grow back stronger, might grow back in two, but it's going to grow back. The only way we can stop the pedophilia, we can stop the genocide, we can stop the slavery, is by cutting off the head of the monster. So even when you have people like Abby Martin or what's his name, Stu Peters, you know, Stu Peters says all these great things and then turns around and says, well, you know, that's not God's will and God this and God that. Like Christianity didn't come out of Second Temple Judaism. Like Judaism isn't an essential piece of Christianity. It just is. Your Jesus was a Jew. Every character in the Bible, all the main characters are Jews. They literally talk about Goyim as Gentiles as a separate group. They talk about those Gentiles over there, those, not us Gentiles, those Gentiles. By the way, if you're watching, like, share, and sub. I can say it now without having to worry because comment section's already shut off, so, okay. Like, share, and sub. If any of this shit makes sense to you, like, share, sub. If it doesn't, if I sound crazy, then smash the dislike button. Smash it. There's a fucking genocide happening right now. I'm just appalled, man. And the thing is, you know, the worst part is, there are all sorts of genocides happening all over the world. Africa is just riddled with all of these different genocides or slavery situations that happen, absolutely controlled by the same people. Just, if you think that Africa is somehow outside the bubble of the Jays, just look up the Uganda scheme. The Uganda scheme proposal, where in the late 1800s, early 1900s, Theodore Herzl and the Zionist movement was going to make Uganda the refuge, the homeland for the Jay people until they could take over Palestine. But because Uganda was so far out of the way, and, you know, times were a-changing, you couldn't just make black people your slaves. That wouldn't have looked good. And it was too much work. It would have required too much work on their behalf, farming and all that shit, independent work for themselves. And again, they couldn't just have the blacks as the slaves. It wouldn't have looked good. When you have the Palestinians as your slaves, they look just like you. People can turn a blind eye to it. They almost gave a portion of Uganda to the Jewish people, the Zionists, to create a Jewish homeland until they could take over Palestine. It's all well documented. Doesn't that seem weird to you guys? How come you never heard about that in school? How come you never learned about Theodore Herzl and Zionism being the fucking thing that it is? I mean, I know if you would have heard about Theodore Herzl, Zionism, all of that shit pre-World War II, you wouldn't have been able to, just completely make this one group the victims and believe the narrative that you're given. Nobody ever talks about, like, what could it possibly take to motivate someone to haul a hoax, to literally pull off the for real haul a hoax? What would it take? The narrative we're given is that when Hitler was a young man, a struggling artist, a Jewish man critiqued him harshly, and that's what motivated him that's one of the theories. Even though his mother was a J, meaning he was a J, that's how their hierarchy works. It's not based on the father, it's based on the mother. Even though the father is the absolute head of the household, it's maternal. That way it just stays with you forever. The whole Hitler narrative is it's fake, it's manufactured. His history is it's all just fucking manufactured bullshit. And just like this notion of they've been kicked out of 109 countries in the past 1,000 years, blah, 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 blah. Nobody ever asked why. What did they do? Is it all just because of because if you look up anti-Semitism and you look up the cause of it, they claim that the majority of the people that express anti-Semitism, and by the way, Semitism is policy or predisposition favorable to the Jays. But if you look it up as to why there's any anti-Semitism, that the narrative that's given is because of the religious shit. That's what because so many people think they killed Jesus, so that's where all the hatred comes from. That's what you'll be told. When if you look into it, it's like most people, Hanukkah celebrated. Hanukkah is not the Christmas for them, the 8 crazy nights. That's not what it is. Hanukkah is a celebration in remembrance of the Maccabee Revolution. And again, this requires a totally blindered version of history where you just believe what you're told. You don't question it, you just believe it. But in like 236 or something like that, BC minus 236, BC, Judaism was outlawed. And the examples that are given, they say, so everything was still cool, like they were still allowed to practice, but they were forced to worship on Sunday instead of on Saturday. Because you can force people to worship on a certain day. They can't just think in their heads, like, I'm worshiping today. They can't do that. They were forced to eat non-kosher products. Because again, you can force people to eat stuff. Like the grocery store was only stocked with non-kosher material. Like, what are you talking about forcing people to eat? Like, the first two things are just sort of jokey, like, it's like a story. The third thing is that circumcision was outlawed. Their practice of Brit Milah, and especially Matitza B'Peh, because that shit was a hell of a lot more common back then, was outlawed. And so one day, this guy named Johannes Maccabeus decided he was not okay with this anymore, and he wanted to circumcise. So, I'm assuming he circumcised himself and his family, and they went around, because back then they had the directory that would show them where all the different Jews lived. So they went around the entire country, you know, using Godspeed. Travel, because, you know, back then traveling across the country was hundreds of miles and shit. You know, that shit was easy to do. You could just do that shit back then. And basically, throughout all of history, one of the things you're just not supposed to focus on is the logistical challenges involved in shit like this, and involved in revolutions and in marches and shit like that. How do you feed all those people? How do you hydrate all those people? Where do they sleep? You know, it's just fucking stupid. It's so stupid. When you can apply this anywhere, whether it's 300,000 of Napoleon's troops marched across the blah 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 from here to there, hundreds of miles, whatever. Where the fuck did they? How did they eat? Most importantly, how did they eat? If soldiers are marching all day, carrying a whole bunch of gear and all that other shit, they need to be like more than just basically fed. You have to have a pretty substantial amount of protein and all that shit. How were they feeding 300,000 troops back then, marching throughout the unpaved fucking roads of wherever? You can apply that same thing to today. When the Kavanaugh trial had to come to an end on that Friday, the Kavanaugh hearing bullshit, the show that they put on, where because he had calendars. I had calendars where I wrote down. I didn't write down on my calendar that I raped a girl that day, so I must not have raped a girl that day. I mean, come on, guys. I like beer. I like beer. I like beer. That fucking idiot. Remember, so Chuck Schumer was the biggest proponent of this needs to end on the Friday. This needs to end on the Friday. Never mind the investigation. Never mind. It all needs to come to an end on the Friday. Because the following Monday, the news cycle was pushing the invasion from South America angle. Remember how there was that invasion? Because Obama and company went down to South America and put up signs telling people to walk their happy asses up Venezuela. And so what the news did was they picked up the story. They had their half, you know, the Blaxican chick, half black, half Mexican chick, sent down to, you know, north of the Panama Canal. Because they don't want to explain how all these people walking from South America cross the Panama Canal. and when they get to they're telling you, from what we could tell, it's 1,500 to 3,000 people are walking, and then the next day it's more like 5,000 people, and then by the time it was 10,000 people were marching. Where the fuck did all these people eat? They if you look up the distance between where they said they were and the lowest point in the United States that they could get to, it was in Texas somewhere. It was like 1,000-something miles. This would have taken them at least a month walking straight. I Google mapped it at the time. And it would have taken, 38 days or some shit like that to walk from Guatemala, or I don't remember where it was, up to the lowest point in the United States. 1,000 some miles. And they're showing all these people walking, and all of their clothes are surprisingly clean. And they show that she's interviewing a person that's pushing another person in a wheelchair. They're being pushed along this whole route, all the way up to the United States to get that better life that Obama promised. That's the narrative we're given, like it makes fucking sense. And you're not supposed to ask the logistical questions. This was in like August or September or some shit. It was hot as fuck. These people are walking from the equator up to the United States where it's always hot. Where did they get their water from? Where did they get their food from? Where were their sleeping arrangements? They all just curled up together on the side of the road. And the funniest thing was, again, it was going to be like over a month until they were supposed to get there. It was in, I don't remember. Maybe it was September, October, something like that. I don't remember. And a week later, they were like, "Oh well, they've made it up here." Some of them caught rides. and they say that, at the time they were saying that this was the second time this had happened. And I watched the news every day at that point. There was no story of the 1,500 to 2,000 people a month or two earlier that had walked up. And by the time they got through all the different channels, Tijuana didn't want them, and all these, because they didn't walk to Texas, they walked to Tijuana. It's even further. But they weren't wanted there, so they pushed them out, and it was said that the number from 1,500 down to 200 were allowed to try to seek the asylum, and then only 2 were given asylum. So what? All those people walked back to where they were from and told everybody about the the results they had. So another group of twice as many decided to walk back up and give it another try. Like, what kind of dumb narrative is that? The logistical aspects of all of it, logistics will always destroy whatever argument they try to present to you. Like I say, who the fuck was feeding Napoleon's troops? Back to the Maccabee revolution. So Maccabee somehow knew where all the different Jews lived in the area. And him and his group, after just being circumcised, mind you, because that was the whole thing, was you're circumcised. They would go to different homesteads of the different Jews in the area and give them the option to join their revolution and circumcise themselves and the males in their family, or die. So they were killing the Jews that didn't want to play along. And so eventually they gained up a large enough army that they could attack the Seleucids, or Seleucids, or whatever the fuck they're called. I have to ask my wife. She knows how to pronounce all that shit. And after years of battle, they eventually won the right to circumcise again. And that's what Hanukkah is celebrating. Every single year, it's a celebration of the ability to cutty, slicey, sucky. Which is, according to them, it's the number one mitzvah, the number one commandment in their religion, in their cult. It's as important as anything else, and nothing is more important than it is. Gotta get that cutty, slicey, sucky. That's along with Exodus, that's the main elements of their cult. And the fact that they've tricked the Goyim into doing it is just a really awful thing. We traumatize our children. Think about what's done to Goyim children, man. Within hours of being alive, they still got mom in their eyes and shit. They're making connections. They have no idea. You know, I always wonder what language babies think in. They don't speak the language. If they don't know what a bottle is, what do they call it? You know, what are they doing? What are they sitting there thinking? They don't know the language that mom is walking across the room. So what are they thinking when they see that? Oh, here comes the dog. I hope the dog doesn't lick my face. They don't know what that shit means. But within hours of being alive, we agree to allow some piece of shit Jay most of the time to strap our kids in a crucifix type position. No anesthesia, no nothing. They put a bell-shaped thing on the penis and spins around and a little blade comes out and cuts the penis. And the baby goes and goes into shock. It has no idea what just happened. It has no concept of what's happening. And it experiences so much traumatic pain that it goes into shock. And they take the kid, they wrap it all up so it pees all over its own wound, which probably feels great. And they put it back in the incubator area until it comes out of shock. And then when it comes out of shock, they take it to mom and dad and they go, oh, little man had his surgery and he's so sleepy. It's trauma. It's unthinkable trauma that we do to all of our males here in the United States. And gee, I wonder why we have such a huge prison population and such a high rape count and such a penis-obsessed, culture. Could it have to do with the penis trauma that 99% of the males experience right at birth? Well, 96%, we'll say. Because they make up 2 to 3% of the population. And they at least have the decency to wait 8 days. Only because the child is passing through the nasty woman and her nasty vagina and the child needs 7 days to purify before the moil will touch them. Yeah. The guy whose sole purpose, his sole job, his sole job requirement, that at some point in his life he was like, I'm going to do this for a living, is to perform circumcisions and matitza bapeh, which is oral suction. They've had thousands and thousands of bloody baby penises in their mouth. That is fucking awful. That is a cult. That should not be acceptable anywhere. It's definitely not something that should be emulated, but in a worse way. It's worse. You ever seen a baby that's newborn compared to a baby that's 7, 8 days old? They basically double in size. They've experienced love, comfort, security, warmth, happiness, food. They've experienced things in life other than trauma. And instead, the Goyim are experienced trauma from this fucking few hours after being born. It's the most horrible shit. You know how you know it's horrible? Because it's not medically necessary across the board. In Europe, they don't do it. Why? Because the risks outweigh the rewards. Go figure. Humans have been surviving this whole time without doing it ritualistically. And the whole thing based on the Bible is, again, it's all J. It's all J. Abraham, magical Abraham, father of the J people, builds a God phone, which something the only ones that can build God phones back in the day are the J's. Your Bible is all J's. All of the characters are J's. All the stories are J's. The Gentiles are a separate group. Abraham makes the God phone. Like, God, what's up? Why'd you fuck everything up so bad? And God's like, I'm crazy like that, I guess. But I'll make a deal with you. I got a deal for you. I'll never ever flood the earth again, and I'll show you to show you my commitment. Every time you see a rainbow, that's me showing you that I'm not going to destroy the earth again. Funny how that became the symbol for gays. But the rainbow is to signify that God won't destroy the earth again as long as Abraham and then the descendants of Abraham circumcise their males and their slaves. So, Honest Abe was like, okay, God, no problem. Circumcised himself, and he had like 90 some slaves or some shit. He circumcised all of his slaves. He was like, hey guys, come here, I gotta talk to you. And they were like, fuck, what's this guy want? And they're like, yeah, boss. And he was like, talk to God again, God phone. They're like, yeah, we know, you got the God phone. God said he won't destroy the earth again as long as I cut the foreskin off your penis. And they were like, no? And he was like, I will smite you. Okay. So basically, as long as they circumcise their own and keep circumcising the slaves, God who loves you promises to never destroy the earth again. It's not about how we treat each other. It's not about how we treat the planet, how we treat the animals. It's not even about your loyalties, your going to church. None of that shit matters. What keeps God from destroying the earth is circumcision. And I mean, I guess you would have to convince the male population to convince people to mutilate their children at birth. It would have to be something pretty drastic. It would have to like play on arrogance more so than most things. To justify putting your child through something that you would never do to yourself. If it hadn't happened to you as a child, you wouldn't do it to yourself as an adult. It's really a horrible, to me, among the worst things we do as humans is mutilate our children while accommodating mutilation and molestation in their cult. How many of you would take that job? Yeah, I'll give you this prestigious position. You'll make a ton of money. You just gotta, cutty, slicey, sucky multiple times a week. You only had to do it twice a year. Would you still do it? Would you take that job? Is that what you would do? I can't imagine any of us would be capable of doing such a horrible thing to such a beautiful little existence. There's this fresh, beautiful, amazing little creature that's looking up at you with the most trusting eyes possible, and you're like, here, let me just see your penis and cut that. Let me just, okay, now. Like, who the fuck could ever do such a horrible thing? There's a reason why they do it to your children right at birth, because if you had that thing there and loved it as much, 7 days, you wouldn't do that. We're not like that. You know, they get you while the mom's still all doped up and the dad's kind of freaking out a little bit, and, you know, they get you at this super vulnerable time and tell you that this is, oh, it's a necessity. It's not. It's horrible. Another one of those things that gets out, outlawed as soon as I become president in 2028. There will be drastic changes with my presidency in 2028. First and foremost is eliminating the ability to be a cult member and still be in the United States. We no longer accommodate that cult, and we will no longer be sending billions of dollars there every single year, first fiscal month of every year. Currently, it's $3.8 billion. Once Trump signs the new memorandum of understanding, it'll be closer to $10 billion every year. First month of each fiscal year is a cash lump sum payment. Nobody else gets this. If we give money to anybody else, there are stipulations. You know, there are all sorts of strings, and we're watching every dime that gets spent and all that. When it comes to Israel, it's a lump sum cash payment every year. Here you go. Just hit us back up when you need more. And they will, and they do. We already give them closer to 10. We give them closer to $10 billion a year already, not to mention all of the money that's funneled into them through all these crazy ass JDLs and ADLs and AIPACs and all these other organizations that funnel our money into Israel. A country that has 9-10 million people. Well, has 9-10 million residents who all get their checks, who get their free houses and their free food and their free education and their free health care and their free everything, free travel. Why do you think none of them go against it? Because the benefit is too high. The thought of living an everyday Goyim existence where you can't just call Uncle Morty to get whatever the fuck you want. That's not something they wrap their heads around. They want nothing to do with that existence. This is the they. The craziest part is most of us our entire lives have known that they are the bad guys. Them are the bad guys. Politics is corrupt because they control it. Healthcare is corrupt because they control it. The TV is a weapon that's used against us that they control. They control the weather. They control the food distribution. They control all the decisions that don't quite make sense, but continue to fucking wreck our lives, basically. They do that. They're the ones that create the prejudicial standard that says we can talk about everyone but them. That's prejudice. But that's their doing. They. And so you've always known who you, and you knew who they were. Your grandparents know who they were. Your parents know who they are. But everybody is so programmed that we're not allowed to say who they is. We just talk about they. And trying to blame they doesn't get you anywhere. What is they? Who is they? You get clowns like Alex Jones, controlled opposition like Alex Jones that tells you it's the globalists. It's the globalists. Whatever the fuck that's supposed to mean. And as soon as you have the balls and the knowledge and the confidence to actually acknowledge who they are, again, they've already controlled it. You're not supposed to say those things. Who are you? You're a dumb goyim. You're not supposed to say those things. You're supposed to be a cog in the wheel. Thank you, thank you. There we go. How you feeling? You look sad today. Why you look sad today? I'm right though, aren't I?
It's my long week.
I'm right. See, I can tell.
Here 6 to 8.
Oh, yeah, I can understand then. At least you got banging socks on.
Thank you.
We need to eliminate they. But the first step is to acknowledge who they are, what their purpose is, what their goal is. And we just don't do that. We're told not to, so we don't. Look at that number just tanked. Which is the point where I'll reset. So let's do a reset since the comments aren't coming through anyway. If you gotta go, you gotta go. Don't forget to like, share, and sub. In the description, you'll find links to the website for the free download, www.the-bilderberg, It's free. It'll ask you how much you want to pay. You just put 0, or you can donate. We appreciate either or. All we ask is that you share it with someone. I'm going to leave you with the link to Hollywoodism, which is the most important film ever made. And it's basically everything I'm saying, but from their perspective. They tell you the truth. It's not a conspiracy movie. It's a flex movie. Go watch it. And there'll also be 3 links to 3 of the music videos for Donald Trump Hates America, COVID Sauce, and a Sleight of Hand Job. Those videos on Facebook, like those, share those, sub to those. And like I say, I'm coming right back, but for those that need to do their thing, go do your thing. Don't forget to like, share, sub. Have a great day. And most importantly, you pedophiles, you kill yourself.